This is a story that might be hard to believe. It's about feeling sad, losing things, making new friends, and finding a new family. It's a story about getting better and about people who marry someone who already has kids doing the right thing. In the end, it's mostly about love. But what's surprising is that the main character in this story is a cat. The story begins in Seneca, South Carolina, in a neighborhood where everyone knew each other and had their own special qualities. However, some people became even more well-liked because they had strong and interesting personalities. This is what happened when everyone got to know a cat named Miss Kitty. Miss Kitty was a big, fluffy cat, and she always made sure that people noticed her wherever she went. In the neighborhood, she was liked and cared for by all the living creatures. She would go wherever she pleased and wasn't afraid to confront anyone who needed a reminder about their manners. She was like the ruler of the area and acted as if everyone should already know that. Miss Kitty was owned by the local residents, Missy and Ryan Grant. They weren't the only ones in the neighborhood with pets. Many people around had different kinds of animals. For instance, their grandson had a dog named Smoochie. Just like the people, the animals had their own personalities too. Smoochie, the dog, was more relaxed, enjoyed resting, and quietly savored life inside their trailer. But it was different for Miss Kitty. Miss Kitty preferred being outside, and the Grants understood that she shouldn't be kept indoors all the time. So regularly, they would open the doors and let her explore around the neighborhood. Miss Kitty was loved and admired by everyone, and she became pregnant, eventually giving birth to a wonderful litter of kittens. However, things took a sad turn from there. For some reason, the newborn kittens faced difficulties, and one after another, each of the little baby cats passed away slowly. From what everyone could tell, there wasn't any mistreatment or anything like that. The cats just weren't very healthy and didn't survive. Sadly, this made Miss Kitty really sad. And to make things worse, there was another animal pregnancy in the Grant family, but not for Miss Kitty. Smoochie the dog was also going to have puppies. After the puppies were born, Missy noticed that Miss Kitty would often look at the dog and her babies, seeming to wonder why the dog got all those good things while she didn't get any. Missy noticed that Miss Kitty seemed jealous, but then something unusual happened. Something strange that made the neighbors tell Missy to come see what was found under their mobile home. It seemed like Miss Kitty had become very dedicated to something new. One neighbor named Karen was the first to notice. Miss Kitty, who had been sad and down lately, was back to being her playful self. Full of energy, the furry cat was running across the field to Karen's mobile home like she always did. But now she had company. She was carrying something in her mouth. She held the small thing by its neck. It turned out that the cat had made a little space under the floorboards of another neighbor's house, like a tiny home for herself and the small animal she was carrying. Intrigued by Miss Kitty's strange behavior, Karen went to the Grants' mobile home and told Missy what she had seen. No one was really surprised that Missy was just as puzzled as everyone else. Before long, Missy saw with her own eyes that Miss Kitty was running off with something little in her mouth. Now it was clear to Missy that the small thing was actually a puppy from Smoochie's litter. Miss Kitty kept doing it. She was taking one of the puppies from Smoochie's puppies, then another one, and another one. Missy hurried over to her husband Ryan and told him about this strange sight. They went to the neighbor's house and looked under the floorboards, where they were amazed by what they found. Miss Kitty had taken all of the puppies. The big question was, why was Miss Kitty taking these young puppies away from their mother? Karen was concerned. She knew that the cat had been sad after losing her own kittens, but she never thought that Miss Kitty would steal Smoochie's puppies to feel better. However, the actual reason wasn't as sinister as Karen thought. It might sound unbelievable, but Missy told her neighbor that she wasn't really shocked. You see, not every animal is cut out to be a parent. Sometimes things don't go as planned, and some animals don't quite fit into their role as parents, even if they're part of the same animal family. This can happen for various reasons like health issues, natural selection, or other factors, and that's exactly what was happening with Smoochie and her puppies. Turns out, Smoochie the dog wasn't very excited about being a mother to her puppies. They didn't have that strong family connection. While the puppies needed someone to care for them and keep them safe, Smoochie just wasn't the right dog for the job. Sadly, the puppies were being ignored by their own doggy mom, leaving them on their own. The care and love they needed weren't coming from their dog mother. One family had already been separated due to the loss of their kittens, and now another family was being torn apart because their mother dog didn't seem interested in them emotionally. But Miss Kitty wasn't going to just watch the puppies suffer. She was ready to help. It wasn't difficult for her human owners to understand what was going on. Miss Kitty, who felt very sad after losing her own kittens, had heard the puppies crying and decided to take them in as her own. She needed a family, and these puppies needed one too. Miss Kitty stepped up to care for the puppies, and in doing so, she found the family she wanted to be a part of. However, there was a small issue. Miss Kitty was a cat, and her milk wasn't right for the hungry puppies. The Grants thought that Miss Kitty needed to feel like a mother again. Even though Smoochie the dog was trying her best as a mom, they didn't want her puppies to be taken away. So they thought that if Miss Kitty could raise some newborn kittens of her own kind, she might be more willing to give up the puppies, and those little pups could go back to their dog mother. Lucky for them, there was a neighbor who lived nearby and had just gotten a bunch of new kittens. They kindly let the Grants take 2 of those kittens, which they then brought to Miss Kitty. The Grants thought Miss Kitty might let go of the puppies and take care of the kittens, but they were mistaken. Miss Kitty was happy to have the kittens as part of her family, but she didn't leave the puppies behind. She gathered all the babies together into one group. A local animal doctor, Dr. Andrew Holland, told the Grants that even though there was love in this mixed family, it would be better for the puppies to get milk from their own dog mom. That milk would likely have special things in it that the puppies needed as dogs, and it would be more helpful for their growth and health. Because the Grants didn't want to separate Miss Kitty from the puppies, they decided to bring the little dogs to Smoochie every day so they could have milk from her. Then they would take the puppies back to where Miss Kitty was taking care of them. Dr. Holland, the animal doctor, explained that sometimes animals from one family get taken care of by another family, but it's much rarer for animals from totally different kinds to take care of each other's babies. It might sound strange, but this kind of thing happens more often than you might think, and luckily, many of these stories have happy endings, just like this one. After the puppies got milk from Smoochie, she became closer to them, but the strongest bond was always with their adoptive mom, Miss Kitty. She kept taking care of them with lots of love and attention. Did you ever hear that animals can take care of babies from different types of animals if they want to? Have you ever seen a cat or a dog act like a mom to babies that aren't their own kind? Keep exploring the fascinating world of animals and their unique behaviors. It's incredible to learn how different species can sometimes form unexpected bonds and take care of each other. If you have any more interesting stories or questions about animals, feel free to share them. Until we meet again, take care and stay safe.